and height of the element. Okay, so instead of telling all this theory, so let's understand this property as in width, height, and then I'll come to how the box model properties will impact the actual or the final value of width and height. So where do we understand these properties? Yeah, let's jump to what is called as MDN. So in MDN we have this property, okay, which is width. So as the name is more familiar to you guys, or the word width is more familiar to you guys. So basically this will determine the horizontal, yeah, space that element is taking, correct? So actual width. So width represents the width of the element. Yeah. So what it says, the by default it sets the width of the content. I think I got dropped. Yeah. My laptop got shut down. I didn't observe that there's some power issues. Okay. So if I have to continue, so what I was saying, let's understand what is width and height. So the name itself is already giving a lot of meaning. But then the important thing that we need to understand is, okay, so what exactly is, yeah, the different value that we can give as a property. Okay, so for this property, what are the different values we can give? And do we mention this value? What is the, yeah, impact of different types of values? So let's understand about the property first. So yes, it talks about the width of the content area. Yeah. So box model, we know what is content area and what is, yeah, a border area or a padding. So the same thing they call content area. So width I can give 150 pixel, then the element will actually look like this. So yes, so whenever we have any measurements in real world also, so we give units, right? So right now we have some units called pixel, we have a unit called em, we have a unit called percentage. So today don't worry, so what are each of these units and how they are different? Maybe I'll have one class where I'll talk about purely on the units. Okay, just understand this is one way of measuring the width in which I can say 150 pixel. So again, width can also be expressed in a different unit, yeah, which is 20 em. It's also possible to express in percentage, and width is also having a value which is auto. Yeah, so it takes, yeah, different kinds of values. Again, the specified value of the width applies to the content area. So okay, so that whatever content you are giving, okay, it stays or it is going to get that much of space. As simple as you think, like you're having a site, okay, your parents are having a site, so you will have like, okay, a width is so much, Yeah, instead of height here, there they will say you will have breadth. Yeah, width and breadth. So same as that, it's a similar concept. So you are you can actually control the width of the element. But let us see with the examples, okay, how this is going to behave. Maybe I'll start off a new code pen for width. Uh, yeah, so let me have an element called h1, and for h1 we'll put some heading stellar template. Now tell me what is the width of this element? Do you see h1 displayed?
100%. So it will take full width of that width.
Full width. Okay. So again, why it is taking full width? Because it is by default a block element that we have discussed in the previous class. So now how do I see that it has occupied full width or not? H1, okay, border 1 pixel solid. If I just apply this simple style, I'll understand how big is this element is. Okay, H1 border 1 pixel solid. So now we are trying to understand width. Using width, can I control it? But what if I say a width as, okay, 250 pixel? You see now the element got shrinked. If I don't mention it, it has some default width. As a block element, yes, it takes full width of its container. Yeah. So though I did not add a body element here, ideally we should add a body element. Again, many a times it is even optional to specify, but as a well-formed HTML, if you remember, we need to include body, head, HTML, all those tags. Okay, so we need to include these tags like h1. To have some parent element like body. Even if I don't mention, there will be an element. Now you see, I'm decreasing the size of the body element since it is occupying full width of the container. You see, it is also getting adjusted. This it is adjusted. So this is the default behavior. But let's say I give a width with 250 pixel. Do you think it is going to get adjusted? It's not adjusting. It is kind of fixed. Yeah. So it is basically not responsive to the width of the container. But then, yeah, this is how we can actually mention the width. So width will not adjust. Yeah. So, uh, so this is one of the thing. Okay. So we can actually control width. Now, width we have different, ways of mentioning, meaning different ways to give the width. For example, as we saw, there is something called 50%. So I'll not talk about percentage and all, but I'm just trying to show you how does it look like. Can you tell me what is happening now? It is actually taking the 50% of the the parent element, which is body, that element's width. See, now also it takes 50%. Fine. So this is clear on the way the width is behaves. So by default it will be there. In general, as a property that we give, so we don't recommend also controlling the width. We leave it to most of the times default. We have written a lot of elements so far. We did not even discuss about this property. We didn't know how to or what are the different values to give. But then, so basically we didn't control it. Okay. So and also as a recommendation, not to control too much on the width, because it shouldn't be like a lot of repetitive things like, so browser is already taking care of so much of things. All right. Uh, let's say I give a width. Now I'll take a different element. Let's observe what happens on another element. Assume like now I have lorem 50, I'll say 50 words, which is a paragraph. So I'll write one selector for paragraph and then maybe the same style. So if at all I need a same style, I can also group the selector, which is called P. I can write border 1 pixel solid. Yeah, this is also one way of writing CSS. Then more importantly, what if I give the width here, say 250 pixel? So no problem. Width is it has taken, correct? And the content got wrapped. And paragraph originally is also a block element, which means it is also occupying the full width of the container, just like H1. Alright? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so this is how the width property and we can actually mention. Now we have got two more properties which are related to width, which is called minimum width and maximum width. What is it? Minimum width and maximum width. So let's understand how these two properties, what are these two properties, and then how all these three works actually. Which one will actually be applied in whatever case. Now I say I've given width as 250 pixel. So let's understand. So what is first of all minimum width? Anybody understand what is minimum width? So minimum width I say 100 pixel. Any idea what is the meaning of 100 pixel minimum width? No? Okay. Now for this I'll take a different element as such, which is let's say a button, because these elements, the ones which I'm taking, they're already having full width, so we don't really understand okay what is it is going to be. So I'm saying get started, and button has a value called get started. Now for the button, what if I define minimum width of 100 pixel or minimum width of let's say 150 pixel? Let's see if the button has that. And now along with this, also understand what if I you know go on reducing this content. Do you see now the button width is actually same even though I reduce the content?
Yes, sir.
Let's say I don't give minimum width. See what happens now? It just becomes G. But then if I add content, because of the content width, the total element width also is going to increase. That's the default behavior. So HTML is going to give you, especially for this inline element, so based on the content, so you will be able to see that element will occupy more width based on the content. But then with a property like minimum width, I am telling no, be it small or big, at least I need this much width for this element. That's the meaning of minimum width. Getting what I'm saying? The minimum width says I need this much width. Okay. So what if I say, yeah, what if I say now width 200 pixel on this? Now what happened? Just that since the value of width is 200 pixel and minimum is 150 pixel, so it is, which one it is applied? Width or minimum width? It has applied width, because as I saw It has applied width only. I'll just comment it and show you. It has applied width. Whenever width value is more than minimum width, so at the least it will take this, but now I have given a width, so it is obeying this condition of having minimum width, so this width is applied. But what if I give a width as 100 pixel? What if I give 100 pixel? What will be the final element width?
Minimum width, sir. 150 pixels.
Yeah, it should take minimum width. You see, no impact on this. I comment, uncomment. So this has no impact on the final element's width. Now we know box model, correct? We know how to inspect this element also, right? So let's inspect and also understand. See, so I can see this, value of my CSS. Very easy to understand. But how do I get the element width actually? By using inspect dev tools. I can inspect it if I go to the computed value. You see in the computed value, I have selected this button, and also you see on a mouse over also I am getting the value. Exactly. Is it not showing me the width value? It says 150. Do you see that or not? When I do a mouse over on that element, so it says 150 by 21.2 here in the content area.
Yes,
If I
sir.
pop over. And the same width is also visible over here also. Yeah, it says 134 is actually content, and we know what is this green area, which is nothing but padding. So this has taken 6. So 6 on either side is 12 plus 134. Yeah, is somewhat close to 150. And then we have got border also. So I would say together it has taken 150. But the point here is, so you can inspect the width of any element, yeah, by just using, by focusing on that element in the elements tab, it will show you. The element inspector will show you clearly what it has taken. This is to understand the width for yourself. Yeah. If at all we have mentioned any value, then it is going to get calculated. Okay.
Sir,
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
sir, after giving width and height, if we give a padding to the element, means whether it will change the height and width size, sir?
Okay. Yeah. You have a good question, but that's the concept which just follows after I explain you this basic width and height actually. Yeah, I'll come to that. You remember I said there is an impact of box model properties on the width and height. Okay, I'll come to that. So now you understood minimum width. So when I have minimum width, then the element will take at least this much value, and there is no limit on maximum how much I can give it. Correct? Width I can give even 1000 also. It is going to occupy that much. Same way, in terms of max width, let's say I've given max width as 50 pixel. Yeah, I've given min width 50 pixel, max width 100 pixel. Yeah, somehow the element is still under minimum width. Okay, I'll remove this now. See what is going to happen now. I am saying max width is 50 and width is 100 pixel. So since max width, it is going to obey max width. I am saying max width 500 pixel and width is 100 pixel. Can you tell me what is the value it is going to apply? I make the max width as 500. It is going to take this value. Okay. Yeah. So did you understand at least what are these properties? Yeah. And how different values used, whether width is used or minimum width or maximum width. Now,
Yes, sir.
as a general practice or also as a best practice, we avoid giving width. What do? We avoid giving width Rather, we put minimum width or maximum width. For example, even it is case of button only. Okay, so I have mentioned minimum width as for a given button I want it to be 200 pixel. I cannot have a button which is 50 pixel or a 10 pixel, correct? So whenever I'm actually defining some style or a class, I'm adding a generic class. So there I mention, okay, so whenever this class is applied, that element be it 200 pixel. Now do I have a limit on how much content I can put? You understood? No, correct? I've written some content. Do you see any problem with respect to this? Content being grown? No, still element is functional. But let's say for the same element I give width and I go on increasing the content, it is going to shrink. Yeah, so it becomes totally a different thing. So the point I was trying to make here is, so prefer using minimum width and maximum width over width, and don't code width actually. I'll tell you in a minute why also. So let's say I also add a height to this. I would like to have height just like width. Height also is a property which almost take, I mean again it is to measure the vertical, yeah, sizing of that element. So what if I restrict this to maybe 20 pixel and I'm giving the width as 200 pixel. This is how it looks like, which is not good. If my content grows, then this element is not supporting. But let's say I put minimum width and height is still 20 pixel. So then it is still going to work. This is fine. Yeah, this is the reason why I am saying width is to be avoided and minimum width, which basically makes the things responsive also. Fine. That's on what to use, minimum width versus width. Okay, let's understand height, and then height also has got its own, yeah, just like width, you've got min height and also you've got max height. Definitions are almost same as like how we understood about width and, I mean, minimum width and maximum width. So I'm not going to repeat it. So, but let me talk a bit more on what exactly is height. So, did we say the height for paragraph or a button when we created one? No. Yeah. So that is actually height is, we say it's an automatic value, auto. I have not mentioned it how much it has to be. So it has this special value called auto. Now how much it is? Yeah, maybe less than around 20 pixel, as we just understood. It is 20 pixel or so. Okay. Okay, it is now 35. But then if I, okay, if I make the content not to wrap, then I get a different height. So 21 pixel. Now when it content wraps, it is going to get some more height. Yeah. So always for the HTML elements, we don't restrict even the height also. We let it flow, let it occupy, you know. So we don't have a restriction. Again, just like width, we can also inspect and see what is the width and height. Yeah, as we saw. So now height is calculated vertical direction, width is calculated in the horizontal direction. But then let's say if we restrict height to some value, for example, for the paragraph, I'll restrict height to, okay, height to how much? Height, let me say 100 pixel. I'll restrict the height of the paragraph to 100 pixel. So it is a more bigger value. Okay, 100 pixel is not small. Let's say 50 pixel. Or let's say 45 pixel or maybe 35 pixel. Can you tell me what happens now if I specify a height? Do you see the content is going out of the box or going out of its border? It's
Yes, sir.
basically, so what do we call if something flows out of its container? English word, overflow. Correct? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It's called overflow. So yes, in CSS exactly we have got a property called overflow through which I can control how this overflow should be. Should it be visible? Should it be, hidden? I don't want to show that, okay, there is an overflow. Yeah, so there is a property which actually controls how the overflow happens. But yeah, we will discuss the overflow in some other time. But understand that if I restrict the height to some value and if the content grows, then we will see an overflow. And overflow by default it is visible. That's why we can see that, okay, the content is coming out of it. And it does even overlap with other elements also. But that can be controlled with a CSS property. So because there is a chance that content might overflow, so we usually don't specify the height. Clear? I think maybe I took a lot of time to just explain these two, but then these are the basic properties which are actually we need to be aware, but then in practice we use very less. But so let's see one use case which we just understood. So now say when we just before this discussion we started seeing that, okay, how to do this, and you see it is actually a rectangle box. I would say it's a square only, not a rectangle. It's a square actually. Yeah, it is like a square. So certain for certain elements, for example, I am not restricting the width of this heading. I'm just leaving it as it is. I'm not again restricting the width of this paragraph also. You might be saying, okay, it is small and there is a restriction. Actually, no. So we don't even mention width here also. We don't even mention width here also. But there are different ways to achieve that. But yeah, cases like for this element, I have to restrict the height and width. Why? Because I have to make use of the border. I need to add a border around this, isn't it? So in this case, again, there are two options for me to restrict the width. One, one is what? I can restrict the width based on, based on these properties. I can say height is this much. I can hard code width is this much. But do you think that is good if I specify some value? Let's imagine what happens if I specify the value. Assume I open this page and I've given certain values now. And I happen to open in mobile now. Do you see now things got changed? It is not of the same size what was there earlier. If I would have hard coded width and height, it would have, it would have not been responsive like this. Okay, so that is a reason for, to avoid hard coding and responsiveness. But let's talk like, okay, how to do this in simple words so that we'll understand how to use, even though we say it's hard coded. It's okay, let's hard code. So let me quickly add fontasm. Maybe I'll show you how to do the same piece of icon. So I added fontasm. So as you know, we can search in the libraries and we have a lot of libraries. So it is, so as a code pen, it is going to import. So you don't see that here in the code. Behind the scene, it does import. Now let's say I want code to be there. You can use any element. For example, even I can have, yeah, a div. This is going to be, okay, first wrapper. Yeah, and then under that, I can have an icon, and the class for that is FA code. So hopefully this will display the icon. Yeah, exactly, we got an icon. But now, so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to set some height and width for this icon. Why? It has to occupy that much space. I need that minimum width and height, right? So I'll say height. Before giving the height for that icon, the class which I'm added is icon. As you see, I'm going to put some border so that we understand, okay, how big is the element. Now if I increase the width, let's say 100 pixel, increase the height, let's say 100 pixel. You see a perfect square? Perfect square is there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So as I told you earlier, you can even change the icon size by, maybe 30 pixel to see it is bigger, and make it even bigger, let's say 50 pixel. Yeah. Okay. So let it be like this. And how do I make it, a circle around that? Yeah. How do I make a circle around that? Yeah. Earlier, okay, Kushal told this property. There's something called border radius. If I tell 50%, when the box is perfectly square and I put a border radius value is 50%, then it will appear like a circle. Yeah, don't worry, like, okay, this element is not in the center. Okay, this element is not in the center. Maybe I can, I think, quickly do it. I say line height same as the height of the element. Okay, and text align center. Is it in the center now? Yeah. So we have not discussed this. That's why I was not more
Yes, sir.
interested in explaining this. But yeah, we are trying to get it to the same shape as we want. Okay. So here we see we made the element height and width fixed for this use case, so that it should come like a perfect square. With that, we are going to have a border radius, and then it look like a circle. This is one way to do it. Now let me show you the same example without even hard coding it, because we have been saying not to hard code width and height. Then can you tell me how do I increase the width and height without putting
Like by giving padding and margin, padding, sir.
exactly? Yeah, in this case it has to be padding because there is a border. Before that border I need to have space. So then what I'll do, I'll use a padding property, which is a one of the box model property, and I'm going to add padding 50 pixel. Oh, which is bigger. Okay, so let's say padding 25 pixel by 50 pixel. Is it looking like a circle? Yes, almost, right? But did I give the width and height? Actually, no.
No, sir.
I have not restricted it. Yeah, not restricted it. So, but it's just that I have added with. So, let's say I want some sizing for the element. This example basically tells you that it is not that we can give the sizing for the element only using width and height. It is also possible, or it is also, yeah, will work with the help of padding. It also adds to border. It is also added with the content also. The content is the icon itself in this case. Now, I have told you height, width, and I've given you some example why do we use and what happens if I use and what if, and why not to use it. Now let's come to the actual property called box sizing. Yeah. So there is a property called box sizing. Yesterday I think one of you told me what is box sizing. But let us now understand this property. Before I understand, so let's inspect this element again, the one which we sized it using padding. Okay, now you see the element width is 163 pixel. But then how did this element got the such, so much width? Any idea? If we look at the, okay, if I look at the box model, it says a content says only 62, but then padding says 50. So can you tell me what is the width now? And border says there is 0.640. What is the width of this element? As we inspect, it is 163. How it is coming to 163? Or how is the width calculated? Anyone can you tell me how is the width calculated here?
Margin left plus border left plus padding left
Okay.
and padding right plus border right plus margin right.
Mhm. Okay. Any other answer?
No idea, sir.
Okay. So the width is actually calculated content width plus the left padding, left border width, left padding width, and the content plus right padding and right border. That's how it is calculated also, correct? You see the count now? See 163. Yeah, you say 62 plus 50 is 112 on one side, plus you got another 50 this side. So and plus the LS value of border, which is almost like 1 pixel. That's how it is calculated. That's how you see the final width of the element is 163. Okay, Mani, let me increase, as you said, let me increase margin actually. How much should I increase margin? Again, if you remember, margin is a space outside the element boundary. Am I right? Margin is a space. Margin is also a space. Okay, let's say margin. Now just to, so I'll increase 20 pixel. So this syntax as a margin single value will make sure that this element gets margin or a space around all the four direction. You observe now. See, in all the four direction it has got a margin. And also I've been telling how to identify there is a margin or not. Can anybody tell me how do I identify whether margin is applied or not? When I inspect the element, how do I identify that margin is there? Okay, when I inspect it, if I get an orange color border, do you see the orange color border around the box?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is margin. And you see a green color box, that's a padding area, correct? Earlier, how much was the width? 163. Now, how much is the width? 163. I increased the margin. But did it contribute to the increase of width?
No, sir.
No. Yeah, I think you observed it. So it does not. Okay, it does not really increase the width. Okay, so now, so with this illustration, let us now understand how do we generally calculate the width of an element and height of an element. Assume this is a box. Okay, within this box, yeah, we have got padding also. Maybe for a padding, I'll write a different stroke style. Assume this is a content area, and before that you have got padding area, and this is a content. Now the width of the element, okay, is as calculated as content width plus left padding and right padding plus left border plus right border. LP, RP, LP, RB. That's what I've written. Which one? The width of the element. But this equation is not always true. Yeah, hold on for a second. I'll tell you why this equation is not always true. Now let me define an equation for calculating the height of the element. Again, content height plus what? Okay, padding, top padding, bottom padding plus top border and then bottom border. So what it means, if at all I have to calculate the width, then I have to only calculate it from this end to this end. Between that I get four or five different things. I get a padding, I get a border also, and then I also get a content. So this is actually defines the width of the element. Now same way, if I have to calculate height of the given element, yeah, the actual height, then it would be from this end to this end. So from this end to this end, I get content height, the size of the top border, size of the bottom padding, not the border, sorry, padding, and again the border on both the sides. That's how the height gets calculated, or a simple formula to calculate the height. Any question with this diagram and the equation that I've written? One of the basic concept. I know this is nowhere reflecting on like okay what we are supposed to do, but these are some of the basic principles we need to understand clearly. Otherwise, you will end up trying too many properties actually if you don't know these basic ones. But hold on, okay? I'm trying to tell you one important concepts here, okay? If you have still not understood, but in simple, I'm telling you the width of the element, height of the element, yeah, there they will actually vary based on padding and border. Here, very important thing to remember: margin is not accounted. Did I mention anywhere here margin? No. You give 100 pixel margin also, it doesn't add up to the actual content width. Fine. Now let me finally tell you what is this property called as box sizing. Anybody knows what is box sizing? I think we discussed it already. Yes, no? Am I speaking to myself? So what exactly is box sizing? I think Anusha, you said, okay, Anusha is,
So like height and width of the contents.
so Anusha, you said box sizing takes two values. One is content box and border box. I think, yeah, yesterday or maybe few days back, we discussed what is called as box model. There are actually two types of box model, I should say. One is content box, another one is border box. We said box model, what is it? Around every content we have padding, margin, padding, border. But in that there are two types of box model. One is content box model, another one is border box model. What the content box is saying, in case of content box, so in case of content box, what happens? Let's say you are given some, you're given some width to that element. Yeah, let's say I say 100 pixel and I add a padding 5 pixel on all the sides. Can you tell the actual elements width via property I've given 100, padding 5 pixel. What will be the final width of the element which is displayed on the page? Same way. I give width as
I
100
think
here,
110.
give a width as 100 here, and in the second case, so
110. So
in both the cases it's 110. So, so with the formula that we just understood, we say it is correct, 110 pixel. I did not mention anything on the border. Yeah, but this is not the case. Where? In the border box actually. So in case if I set this property as box sizing as border box, the actual or the final width will be same as the width specified. I think you might have confused now. Okay, but in simple, what I am trying to say, in case of border box, yeah, the given width will include content plus padding plus border. Yeah, the given width is like it's final width and actual width. I mean given width, actual width both will be same, but they'll take up content, padding, and border. Let's say given width is 100, and then I am going to increase the padding or increase the border. I think let me show you with an example quickly. For this, I think I'll come out of. Okay. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the box sizing property. So there's a property called box sizing. So for that, let me create one. Okay, element itself named as box. Yeah, I think this is the last thing I want to cover. Okay, oh, sorry. I wanted to have box. And for this box, let's put some content. Okay, so I'm giving the width as 100 pixel and padding as okay 10 pixel. Now, so let's see the border. Okay, I'll inspect this. So according to us, given width is 100, padding is 10, border is 1. So can you tell me what is the width of this element? It should be 122, correct? Yeah, the width,
yes, sir.
actual width should be 122. Yeah, it is 122, almost. Yeah, so there is a fraction specifically for the border, so don't worry on that. But then it is 122. Now, what is a box sizing? The box sizing default is actually content box, which means the whatever width you define in case of content box will be only given to the content area. In this box model, which is content box model, it takes like the box is only till the content area. We have padding area, we have border area and margin area. But then when I say box sizing as content box, and remember this is a default value. Even if I don't give, okay, even if I don't give, the box sizing is content box only, which means In that, okay, you have to imagine, let's say if I inspect this, and I'll show you in the graphical here also, the computed, it assumes that within the box there is only content. There is no padding, there is no border. That's what is content box. And that is the same reason, you will see that given width will be completely given to the content. Let me inspect the hello world again. Okay, so I am saying in case of content box, okay, it assumes that there is only content in the box. There is no padding area, there is no border area. That's why the given width is completely given to the padding. I'm sorry, given to the content. If at all I give padding and border, then they are actually going to increase the width of the element, width of the final element which is displayed. Uh, is that clear what I'm saying? Do you guys have any question? I'll repeat, the default box sizing is content box, which means the given width is only given to the content of the box, not to any other element. It is not shared with other element. But let's say you give padding and on top of that border, then actually they are going to change the final width of the element. Yeah, so this is a given width. I mean, this is a finally calculated width. In this case, it is 100. Why? Yeah, so it says it's 100, but you see the actual width when I inspect 122. Yeah, and now we have another one which is called border box. In this case, can you tell me what happens? Given width is 100, padding is 10, border is 1. Can you tell me final width if I inspect? How much it is? 100.
Hundreds.
Given and actual both are 100. Why? Simple reason. So now let's say I increase padding, or let's say I increase the border, then the content width is going to get shrinked. Now it is 78. Assume I just increase padding by another 5 pixel. Observe now what happens with 278. It becomes 68 now. So the content area will become shrinked. Whereas in case of content box, the content area will not shrink. It is going to be fixed. If I add padding or border, it is going to be fixed. Okay, this is what is basically two types of box model and the box sizing, and also to understand how box sizing will actually impact the final calculation of the width. More importantly, you have to understand how the width is calculated. Yeah, this is an important thing. Okay, just remember it's a simple also, as you can see here. If at all you have to calculate the width, you have to all the way from border till here. When, yeah, I mean that's how the width is calculated. Yeah, the actual width is calculated, and that width, given width, and the actual width will be same in case of border box. In case of content box, no, given width, yeah, will not match the actual width. Actual width varies based on padding and border that we have given. Okay, you told so much about width, but then how is it going to impact actually? What is the what is the so uh, important thing about this? Why we have to learn all these things? Why you have to remember all these formulas? Okay, formula is straightforward, but the thing that you have to remember is, now let's say based on the design, I understand it has to have this much width. correct? I understand this much I have to give, and for this width and height. Now while designing, all while I am writing CSS, I give these values, height and width, I give these values. But then what if I, increase the padding? After giving the width and height, what if I increase padding? Or what if I change the border? I cannot go and calculate the width again, right? The new width value, because it would have grown more than the given width, actual element. So what is a problem if at all the element is growing more than that? Obviously it's a problem, right? So this is a viewport, and in the viewport I am allocating some width to that element. If at all it is increasing, assume like, okay, there are elements adjacent to it. Assume there are elements adjacent to it. They will not get the space. It's just like you occupying more space, correct? You are occupying like more seat. Imagine you are going in a KSRTC bus and someone who is a bit fat is sitting next to you. You'd have occupied more than your seat. Are you okay with that? You're not okay, right? Because other elements get disturbed. So, so with similar reason here, we actually kind of, you know, so it's not, no, it's again not the point of how much it is taking, or it has to always take fixed same as others. No, it is again the point of calculation actually. Assume the final width of this element is 100, and I am having content box, actually box model. Then in case of content box model, I have to calculate the width. Whenever I change the padding and border, I have to again calculate the width. I cannot give hard code 100, but I know that maximum it should take 100. In that case, I have to calculate it. How much? 15 2s are 30, 32, 100 minus 32. Okay, like that I have to sit and calculate 68 pixel. When in case of content box, provided I want my element to fit within 100 pixel. Whereas in the border box, I don't have to have that mental calculation every time I adjust this value. There, if I just tell 100 pixel, then the border box will make sure that element is sticking to that 100 pixel width. Even if you adjust this padding to 20, so don't worry, your content or the element will not take extra space. It is going to be fixed. Okay, so all these things will make sense if you start implementing all these elements. These are some basic concepts we'll have to understand. There is no other way. This is how the CSS, yeah, is there behind the elements, yeah, in terms of sizing and all that. As a property, every property has, very easy to remember name, box sizing, yeah. So how should be the box size should be affected? Should it calculate till border or should it calculate only till content? That's how the two values are there. Okay, I think I've told too much today. Don't worry, even if you're not understood, try to read yourself about these two properties. Maybe again we can recall a bit tomorrow. These are, again, as I'll repeat, so these are some core properties we need to understand in terms of width and height. And I only mentioned about width and height. This is the same thing for height also. In case of content box, yeah, it behaves similar to width. In case of border box, yeah, again, height is also fixed. In case of content box, height also can increase the actual, yeah, width versus the final width, or I would say given width and actual width. All right, yeah. See you all. Any question before we drop? Okay. just to summarize quickly, now less than a minute. So today we understood two important properties, width and height. Again, they have min and maximum actually. So we understood the comparison, which one is applied, min or max, even along with the width value. Yeah, we also understood by default we don't, or we explicitly, we very rare that we give height and width. Again, it is limited to few use cases. Apart from that, we understood that width and height are actually having this so many, I mean there are different units that we can actually use. So not much into the details of the what are the different units and what is the difference. Uh, so using these two properties we can control the size of an element. Yeah. So by default, if it is a block element, it is going to take full width. Uh, we didn't discuss on the inline element. Inline element, I think block element, inline block element. I think we will discuss in the next class to understand how those three values differ and how is width actually comes into picture. Okay. The other thing is the calculation of the width and height. Also, not hard coding height and width. We can so height and width can also be increased by the padding and border based on the two box model that we have, content box and border box. How will the actual width calculation impacts? Okay, so since I've told you so much, don't forget all the previous concepts which we have learned. Yeah, the different properties. Yeah, keep practicing it tomorrow. Tomorrow I think we'll tell you some more concept. I think, and then we will do some exercise around all these things.